Okay. Welcome to Cherokee County Council PTA Bylaws, Policies, and Parliamentary Procedures Training. This one is an interesting one. Lori will jump in at any time. Let's see. Here we go. Well, maybe not. Let's try it. There we go. Click on the slides. There we go. So here we go. There's a hierarchy of rules. I think we all know that we have the parent body of National PTA and Georgia PTA. They create the bylaws. Then there's special rules of orders, generally known as your P&P, or policies and procedures. And then there is parliamentary procedure. So some of the things like council is going to try to do is we are going to try to write up some policies and procedures. And that's just a good way of kind of stating how we run council. So just in addition to our bylaws, we have some policies and procedures in place just to kind of help give a little bit more body. National and state also have policies and procedures. But the bylaws are the governing records. And then of course we have the Robert's Rules of Order, which we follow for parliamentary procedure. Bylaws, which is a noun, the rules adopted by an organization, chiefly for the government of its members and the regulation of its affairs. So our bylaws include basic policies of the association, the relationship as a constituent association, membership and dues, officers, their elections, and the duties of officers. All that is included in your bylaws. The board and the executive committee meetings. So how many meetings that as a board we are supposed to make, how many meetings we're supposed to have, council membership, representation, and then amendments to the bylaws. Best practices. It is a good thing for everyone to always look at your bylaws. Always refer to your bylaws. If you come to us with some sort of procedural question, the answer is going to be, have you looked at your bylaws? If you don't have a copy of your bylaws, new sets of bylaws should be being emailed out, I would say sometime between now and August. I'm going to give them a great Georgia State, a nice window of time. So I can give you your old copies. We have access to the old copies, but all the updated new copies for that, are for this year should be coming out between now and August. Would you agree, Lori? Lori agrees. Okay.
Yes. Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah, like she's nodding her head and she agrees with me.
But there were no, I'm sorry, there were no bylaw changes in this past CLT. There were no amendments. So for now, just go off of your existing bylaws from last year.
Because those were changed. So if you don't have the set from 2020, then we should have them and we can get them to you. Because that basically has the, we can have virtual meetings rules in it. So establish a quorum that is attainable but representative of membership. Provide a copy of your bylaws to your officers, your BOD members. They all need copies of the bylaws. Should always be referenced when there's a question of what to do. Like I said, if you come to us with a procedural question, the answer will first be, have you looked at your bylaws? Anybody who asks for them should be able to get them. So if you have Gabby saying, can I have a copy of the bylaws? You can be like, yeah, here, have a copy of the bylaws. They're not secret documents. And then the easiest place to keep your documents would be on Member Hub. How to amend your bylaws. So there are certain articles of our bylaws that can be amended. So Roman numerals 18 articles and sections identified by a number sign or a hashtag or underlined, those can be amended. Notification of proposed amendments provided 30 days prior to voting. So you do have to let your membership know 30 days before that you're going to try to make bylaws amendments. A two-third vote is required from the quorum present. So I got really confused by that. I thought it was like 2/3 of the membership. It's 2/3 of your quorum. So if your quorum is 6, 2/3 of that would be 5. So usually it's like half plus 1. So 4. I can't do math. It is the end of the day, and I've had a puppy and a grandma. What?
I said a puppy and a grandma. Just is such an interesting combination.
Come on over. You can see what I'm dealing with.
Sure.
Effective upon receipt of approval from Georgia PTA. So Georgia PTA does need to approve any bylaws amendments. What do you send to Georgia PTA? You can find this online at Georgia PTA. The bylaws amendment form, which is also in your LRG. It needs to be signed by your president, and it needs to be signed by your secretary, and then the amended language. So if you have noticed that any CLTs, especially if you participated last year, what they did was they took out what they were changing in their bylaws. So say it's the quorum. So quorum is going to represent 40 members of your PTA. So they took out that and said, we would like to amend to 15 members of PTA. And then they put their reasoning. Well, 40 members, 40 member quorum is not representative of our membership for PTA. So 15 is an easier quorum number to attain for quorum. So just put your reasoning of why you're trying to change it. And we can help you with that, and obviously not off the top of my head. And then proof of proper notice. So just put your minutes along with that, saying that it was voted on and what date and time all of that happened. Here's what can be amended. Article 1, the name of your PTA. So you can change your PTA name. You can change your dues in Article 5, the dues amount. Article 6, the number of VPs and titles and the number of secretaries. Also your election month, you can change that. You can also change the number of members and committee, nominating committee. You can also change when the nominating committee is elected. You can also change in Article 13, the general membership meeting election month. And Article 13, again, you can also change the quorum number. Article 16, you can change the fiscal year dates. So this is everything in your bylaws that you can change. Oh, I clicked on, hold on. Here is what we would recommend you all to amend in your bylaws this year. This is a great year to amend bylaws. We recommend that you amend Article 5. If you have a membership number that is under $7, get it to $7. The minimum, we believe, would be $7 to $10. I would think if you, I don't think anyone here is a part of a high school, but I think all the high schools should have a minimum of $10 as their membership dues amount. Catherine's personal opinion. And that goes to your membership. If your membership says $10 is great, then $10 is great. And the reasoning would be, it helps support more students if you raise your dues. Article 6, we do recommend that you have 2 VPs and 2 secretaries, a corresponding and a recording. So that would be a president or a president and a co-president, 2 VPs, 2 secretaries, and a treasurer. That gives you 6 to 7 people on your board, 2 VPs, 2 secretaries. Yeah, 6. Yeah. Oh man, 6 people on your board, and it's just more voices. And then if you have, if you need somebody being, membership committee, sometimes we have VPs of membership, VPs of this or VPs of that, and lots of VPs. Have those people be on your board of directors. So, and it just gives a wide variety of having more voices and inclusivity, but it makes the just makes the numbers a lot easier in your EC when you just have 2 presidents or 1 president and a co-president, or just 1 president but 2 VPs, 2 secretaries, and a treasurer. Article 6, the nominating committee, we definitely recommend 3 members and 2 alternates. It is so hard sometimes to get a nominating committee, and there's some bylaws out there that say 5 people on your nominating committee and 2 alternates. So now you're trying to scrape together 7 people. We just recommend make it easy, 3 people on your nominating committee and 2 alternates. Again, these are suggestions. Quorum, my goodness, minimum 15. It is hard enough to get people to come to some of these meetings. There are some schools out there that have quorums of 40 or quorums of 25. That is super difficult. We recommend amending and getting those numbers down to 15. And then the other thing is maybe getting all of the county on the same fiscal year end date, and that would be May 31st. So that is something you could bring up to your membership, but that means then your books are in audit in June. You get them back by the middle to end of June, and you're already starting up again. So then you guys then that gives pretty much a good month and a half to prep and buy and do what you need to do during that summer before school starts August 3rd. So it's a nice buffer. But again, these are recommendations, and that is up to your general membership to vote on. Okay, policies and procedures and standing rules. These are all adopted by the executive board. They are secondary to the bylaws and the leadership resource guide. They should address specific practices, what to do in an emergency, committee descriptions, reimbursement procedures, etc. They are just administrative, so they're just what council does in the case of an emergency, what council would do, how we follow reimbursement because we don't meet in person every month. So how does I don't know, I'm just pulling this off the top of my head, but how council follows, what council's procedures to getting reimbursements filled, and how council does the check requests. So that's what your PMPs could do. So you could have that for your executive board, so that everybody kind of is on the same plan of what we're doing. They're administrative. Again, a majority adopts and rescinds and amends. So you do have to have it voted on by your general membership. So if council is writing up some policy and procedures, we have to have you guys as our general membership vote and approve that we can use them.
I don't think it has to be voted on by general membership.
Okay, maybe not.
Sorry.
Nope.
Because it's just administrative, so it's just your EC.
Is it just the EC?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take your word on that. Coming soon. I forgot to write, oh, never mind, it's all fancy. The standards of affiliation. So that's coming soon. We're gonna have a whole training on that at our School of Information meeting, and that will either be in August or September, but I would say save the date for September because that is gonna be a big training meeting. So parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules of Order. This is what makes PTA meetings arduous to anybody who doesn't understand PTA. So it is a set of rules for conducting business at meetings and public gatherings to maintain order. It allows for everyone to be heard by the use of motions, discussion, and voting. Decisions can be made without confusion. The majority decides. So let's go back. We will give you at some point some sort of form of, but it's everything that's scripted. So all those scripts that we follow in our PTA meetings, that's the parliamentary procedure. And then if you want to really get in depth and read the Robert's Rules of Orders, go ahead. But so it really comes into the motion and the discussion and the voting that really comes into play more at the state level and the district level. Sometimes and the national level. Sometimes it comes into play at council, like if people would like to have a motion or somebody runs from the floor. That's more when you'll see us kind of stumble because we're not accustomed to it. And we'll be like, let's refer to our bylaws and to the Roberts for the procedure of what we're supposed to do. But that's why we have scripts. So that's why, you know, if you're anticipating a contested election, that's why everybody's trying to prepare what to happen. Or if you hear that somebody wants to make a motion at a meeting to have to form some sort of committee to make a decision about bringing something up to the school board. That's, you know, those are things where they would like, I would like, would be a point of discussion. I would like to motion that a committee be formed, that type of deal. Lori, anything to add?
No, I think you're right. I mean, there's cheat sheets, and we're gonna try to get you guys a little chart that says, if this, do you need a motion or do you need a second? I mean, general rule is anything coming from committee doesn't need a second. So if it's coming from your EC, if it's coming from your budget committee, if it's coming from whatever other committees you have in your local unit, you don't need a second motion on that.
You do
When,
yeah, you do need a second to adopt your audit, your minutes, your treasurer's reports, your budget. That's about it.
well, the audit can't be amended.
No,
So
you're right.
you don't need a second on
You don't
that.
need a second for that one. Or just say, hey, here it is. Anybody need to discuss it? And then it does come from a committee, even though it's generally a committee of one.
Or it's coming from your EC.
Your EC, and then so it's the minutes, it's the treasurer's report, and the budget.
Yeah.
Usually that's what we have a second for. And also I think, to the adoption of the agenda and to adjourn, I think.
Yeah, but we'll get you, there's little cards.
Cheat sheets.
There's little cards that will tell you when you need a second, and we'll get that out to all of the local units. When we get the bylaws back from state, we'll make it a nice little package of everything that you guys
Tell
need.
me it's super cute and pretty, and you're gonna get it at the School of Information meeting.
Yeah.
Let's see, who's the parliamentarian? Wow. So the president is the one who appoints the parliamentarian. The parliamentarian is a dues-paying member of the local unit, usually a former leader, a well-versed in bylaws and procedures, or an advisor. So if you have somebody who really knows the bylaws well, or who is willing to always be doing that research, that would be a great parliamentarian. Somebody who is an advisor. A parliamentarian does not get a vote on the board. A parliamentarian is, so they're not really a part of the EC. The parliamentarian is an advisor to the EC or the president. So, and And there are certain bylaws, like council bylaws say that we have to have a parliamentarian. So we're asking around. Not wink, wink, Kathy. So Latrice Spray was a parliamentarian. Now there are some parliamentarians that we put to work. So some ECs, Holly Springs had one and we put her to work. I know Clark Creek Elementary School put their parliamentarian to work. So that is up to you. Council put Latrice to work. So council used Latrice as a zone representative. But generally speaking, parliamentarians are there to be an advisor on the bylaws and the LRG. So they're the ones who kind of do the research and say, nope, that does not go with the bylaws. You need to make a motion for that. So that's kind of what a parliamentarian does. Does that make sense? Yeah, I know. The roles. So you sit with the president at all meetings for consultation purposes. You listen carefully to all meeting proceedings. You keep track of the motions, amendments, and voting results. So the parliamentarians, so like for council, parliamentarians will run our election. And then studies the units, bylaws, standing rules, and the Roberts Rules of Order, or the cheat sheet. That is Parliament. That's it. Ta-da! Is there any questions?
I have a question for the schools that are on. Do you already know who your parliamentarian is for next year, or are you the parliamentarian?
Woodstock Elementary doesn't know yet. They
Okay.
haven't been appointed.
Hey Tiffany, this is Marilyn at RM Moore. I do have a parliamentarian appointed already.
Okay. And Scott, I believe you said you are for your school?
Yeah, I am for Mill Creek Middle.
Okay.
I am for Boston.
Thank you, Lori. No, that's good to hear because it's really important to have a good parliamentarian. It definitely helps make your meetings go by a lot smoother. A lot of times there are different questions that come up during the meeting. And really that parliamentarian is just really great as far as getting that quick response and making sure you're staying on track and following the procedures that are laid out. So thank you all who are stepping up into that role.
I agree with you, Tiffany. I actually talk to my parliamentarian almost every day because I'm texting her for questions. So I think they're a great resource and because they're very knowledgeable.
Yep. They're usually like the nerdy ones like me who actually have read the LRG from first page to
Yeah.
I think of parliamentarians as, I don't know if this is like it for everybody else, but when we have family game night, there are people that assume that a game is played. Parliamentarian is the one that reads the rules inside the box and says, no, you can't do a double reverse in Uno. You're not allowed to do that. That's what a parliamentarian is like. That's how I think of it anyway, if that makes sense.
dude, you don't play the Michael Shook Uno then.
Well,
Very
see, that's
neat.
the thing. Everybody has their own way that they play Uno or they play Monopoly, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, local units have their own way that they do meetings, but there's a reason why we have to follow the bylaws and parliamentary procedure. It protects us. It protects our local unit. It keeps us
That's
out
a
of those gray
Great
areas.
metaphor for the parliamentarian. Yep.
I'm the one that reads the rules when we have family game night, so I'm the one that's not liked very much.
They're like, sorry, you can't play the Michael Shook way. You got to play the Uno way.
See, that's why I'm glad you're my parliamentarian, because we're the type that cheat at Uno. So it's good to have.
Right? I know. That and then we play like different games and it's like, okay, how can you cheat at this game? Monopoly is another one.
No cheating. No cheating in PTA.
No, not in PTA. Now, Michael shook Monopoly. Gets nasty.
So
Any other questions?
it's not really a question, but a statement. Since everyone's kind of now thinking membership, since that's like probably the thing that's happening sooner of the things that you can change on the bylaws. But like when you're looking at your bylaws and you say, ooh, it's a little low, maybe we should increase it, that you do have to have the general membership vote that. So, I mean, my opinion, and I don't know the rest of you, it's probably like too late for this next school year unless you had a meeting, because it's also not fair that if you've taken memberships, they're going to get the old, the old rate, and then someone get the new. But look at the bylaws and be like, maybe we could increase these, get the membership to approve that during the school year, and then it's in place for the next school year.
Well, and it would not, the bylaws, when you amend them,
Oh, that's true.
a full year. So you can't raise that membership dues amount until you get the new set of bylaws. You have to go by the current set of bylaws until you get the new ones. So that's why we would recommend making bylaws changes this school year, and then they would go into effect next school year. So this school year, you still go by the set of bylaws that you have. So nothing changed. Your fiscal year doesn't change. Nothing changes until after Georgia CLT 2022. And that's when everything kind of gets reset, from my understanding.
Yeah.
So you can change everything this year, but it does take a full year for those bylaws. And you might get the amendments, like you might be like the amendments pass and you get the new set of bylaws, but nothing goes into effect until the new fiscal year. You have to go by your school's fiscal year. That's how that goes. But we can take that up with our district director for more clarification. But as I understand it, you go by this set of bylaws for the whole year, and then the new year, everything changes over. So you could let your membership know saying, your dues are still $7 this year. You've already paid $7. This would take effect next school year. So all these changes would take effect next school year. So even if you got your nominating committee down to 3 people and 2 alternates, you still have to do 5 people and 2 alternates this year in March. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Catherine, quick question. So the next board can come in the following year though and amend the bylaws again if they don't agree with those bylaws. So let's say we increase the membership dues to $10, right? The next board can say, you know what, that's too high. I don't like that. They can come in the next year and decrease it back to $7.
Yeah, they could. There might be some ways to get around that. I'm not 100% sure though, but yeah, they could amend them again, but it is a process. There is an IRS form that you have to do. So if you do raise your dues and you change your fiscal year, you have to fill out an IRS form. But Susan says that's real easy. And so if Susan says it's easy, that means it's probably 4 steps, maybe 5. But yeah, they could change it, but you know, if your membership, and you have in the minutes that the membership has agreed and a majority of your members say it, I think that's a great reason to raise your dues. So let's say it was a long time ago. I only had, so it was Keaton's kindergarten year and he's a 10th grader. So I don't know, however many years ago that was. Holly Springs dues amount were $6 and they raised it up to $8. And the reasoning was that State and national dues were $375, and we were only getting whatever that was subtracted. And in order for us to continue to pay for membership dues, they were specifically went towards the agendas. So in order for us to facilitate being able to afford the agendas, they needed to raise it up to $8. And everyone was like, oh, well, if we're helping with the agendas, I'm sure. And so, and then it's never gone back. So I could see, you know, I think some of the schools that have the $5 memberships, those ones might be hard to get. You know, I don't know if they could get from $5 all the way to 10. But you know, $5 to $8 and kind of saying, well, this is kind of standard in our county for elementary schools, is to have an $8 membership. A $3 increase isn't going to make too many people upset.
Gotcha.
You've just got to know your body that you're working with. I mean, maybe in a Title I school, you really can't go above $5. You know, because the goal is to get people involved in PTA and advocating for their kids. So you don't want to price people out of the ability to join and participate. So you really kind of got to like read your particular school that you're working in. It's not necessarily going to be, I mean, I think 7 is smart. National PTA comes around every couple of years talking about that they're going to raise their portion of the dues, and that puts some local units in an uncomfortable position because then you're at like 50 cents per membership that you're keeping within your unit, and that's challenging. Memberships shouldn't be a fundraiser, they should be funding your operating of the PTA.
Yeah.
But it's something to think about. If you think that the demographic of your school can't do more than 5, then don't push it.
So and work on it about the, you know, your normal numbers. So whatever, I would say, go from, take kind of sort of the median. I'm not a math person, so, you know, figure out what the average number you have, like within the last 5 years, what's that membership number and what you're kind of trying to go for. And then taking that membership number, how much is that funding? Because, you know, I mean, PTA, we have to pay for AIM. We have, you know, so those PTA things that we have to pay for, take that number, figure that out, and then use that and saying, look, if national increases the dues, then that means that it's going from 375 to, because then if national increases, that means state's going to increase their dues. So, you know, it could go from 375 to $4 or $4.25, something like that. You know, and so then that's taking $1.50 off of what you can afford to pay for AIM insurance. And you can say, look, we have to be able to afford, the dues money pays for our insurance, it pays for our PTA to run its administrative operations. That way, everything else, from fundraisers, from booster, from Cherry Dale, from flowers, to whatever fundraiser you're doing, all that money, then 100% of those proceeds then can go and fund PTA programs for our kids. So, I mean, that would be a good way to reason it with some parents. So, you know, it's paying our operating things. Or you could say the membership dues that we receive goes straight to teacher grants. So if we increase our dues, that means state's getting $3.75, we're getting $4. And that, you know, for every $4, that's going towards the teacher grant. So there's different ways to reason it out to help parents and members understand where the money is going and how it's being spent.
Any other questions, concerns, thoughts, ideas, confessions?
Confessions. I like that.
Well, if nobody has any other questions, we could give you back 20 minutes to your evening.
For sure,
It's still light outside.
but it's still hot, just saying, I was out there.
Thank you, ladies. This was good information. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
Thank
problem.
you, Marilyn.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
See
Have
you
a
guys
good
next
night.
time.
Thank you. Oh, well, I'll
Bye.
stop the recording then, once I find my mouse. Catherine.